welcome back to WCS Valencia day number 2 as we've completed half of the round of 16 and now we get into the nitty-gritty of 2 matches about to come up in the form of mirror matches. There you go.
Are you all right?
No, I had a memory lapse there for a moment. It was fantastic, but it's all good. It's all good. I'm fine.
Has his Narnia?
That's, yeah, I think that threw us all for a loop for a moment there. It was a crazy, crazy world, but it was fun nonetheless. I'm joined by Todd and Fear Dragon here alongside me at the desk, and we're moving into a TvT. We haven't had any chance to see any Terrans versus anybody yet during the day.
Not just any TvT. I think this is going to be a really good one. They actually have a big history against one another. It's currently 14-4 in MaSa's favor. As of late, I feel like Kelazhur has been better, but I just checked their results against one another. They played earlier this month, so not too long ago, and MaSa won 3-0 during the DreamHack Atlanta qualifiers.
And not just that, but I actually was talking with Kelazhur, who's saying TvT, his absolute worst matchup right now. He feels incredibly uncomfortable in the matchup, and he was saying, you know, because I've been losing every single time I face off versus MaSa, not just in competitive series, but also on the ladder, he really wants to just try something a little bit different this time.
Feels like a common trend, considering, from these pro players at least, considering that we saw Kelazhur actually go so far against Emperor New Thermal during one of our WCS Circuit moments. But we're going to check in with Smix to start things off here for our Terran versus Terran. I asked you yesterday if you were excited for Terran versus Terran once again, or...
Definitely very excited. I mean, the Zurich domination was cool and all, but I think people are definitely looking forward to seeing a new race on the main stage. But of course, it's not just about the Terrans. It's also about a new region, as we'll have Brazil versus Canada coming up next. It's Kelazhur and MaSa.
As alluded to before, I don't know what's wrong with this section. I'm all off the rails.
You're broken.
It's the Haas effect. That's what it is. The Haas effect. Here's Kelazhur. As we've seen the pecking order of Latin America really shape up as of late. Obviously, Special kind of sits at that #1, but I would argue now with Cham kind of out of this tournament at the moment, Kelazhur sits at a #2. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I mean, Kelazhur is sitting very high in the WCS points. He's sitting at #5 and has a realistic shot at BlizzCon. He definitely wants to be able to win this match to secure a couple more points. And of course, being able to get first in this tournament. I don't think that a lot of people would be predicting Kelazhur to get first, but if he's even able to get a top 4 finish or, God forbid, a grand finals finish, that would really, really lock him down, I think, for a BlizzCon finals.
Yeah, we already saw both of them in action this tournament in a mirror matchup.
Yeah.
Kelazhur went up against Igers, that was in group stage 3, and he won 2-1, so definitely showed he can play in the matchup, even though that was just a 2-1. Whereas MaSa, he lost the first series that he played against Utamol, but then won in the rematch, so they definitely both showed us some good things, and now against one another, they get another opportunity, and I really feel like it's going to be more about who's feeling well today, who's playing their best StarCraft, because, like I said, they've got history, but then they have a lot of ways to contradict one another as to who might be favorites. I actually didn't know that Kelazhur had won more money in his career than MaSa. Like on paper, I would have thought MaSa would have been up by quite a few dozens of thousands, maybe, but no, actually it's 76,000 to 71.
And don't forget out there that you can vote for who you think is going to win in the Twitch chat as well as this continues on. You can vote before even that comes up. So as soon as we're moving on to our next match, you can start voting, and then we don't have to be in a 50-50 limbo land as soon as that comes up because no one's aware. But this is about to kick off in just a few moments' time here, Fear Dragon. Kelazhur is one of the only players throughout the WCS circuit, I think there's about 3 in total, that has actually been able to knock off Neeb in the group stage. Of course, Neeb comes through the group stage and then still is victorious, but it really is testament to show how much Kelazhur has improved as a player.
Yeah, you know, it's so funny. I was talking again with Kelazhur earlier on, and he said, you know, I felt good against any player that I could have been put up against in the round of 16, except for MaSa. He actually was saying, you know, I would have preferred Neeb versus playing MaSa in this TvT.
Did he give reasons, or just
you know,
kind of
I didn't press that far.
No.
Because you know what? When a player is getting ready and they're already saying, God, I just got like the worst luck of the run.
Yeah.
Can I also just say how many times we have gotten a Terran versus Terran in the first round when there's only like 2 Terrans left? It's like a curse.
Yeah.
Well, they're special as well there, so...
Yeah. So you have 3 Terrans and 2 of them face off against each other. What are the
we need
odds?
to get rid of them. How else are we going to get rid of them?
And they have to kill one another down in the bracket.
So that Protoss
apparently.
can have a chance and then lose to Zerg as well. You know, like, we're in this together.
All right, well, Protoss and Terran uniting, who knows? We're about to find out here as we go into our TvT. So let's head over to the commentary team here for WCS Valencia.
Thank you very much for your insightful comments. It's true, the Terran players being thrown into the arena very early in a steel cage deathmatch with 2 broken pool cues to control.
This has been established since Wings of Liberty. There was a time where the proliferation, like, as far as the eye could see, there was Terran players everywhere. Boxer, a very virile progenitor of Terrans. He inspired a lot of people. They all played Terran. And slowly but surely, over the eons of StarCraft 2, they eliminate each other until now in Legacy of the Void, where I think there's 3 registered Terran players in Europe, maybe 2 or 4.
They're basically like the Legacy of the Void plot Zelnaga. They're all gone, and now here they are to face off on Defender's Landing in this best of 5. To kick things off in the bottom left position, we have the blue Terran player hailing from Brazil. He is Kelazhur. I asked him about this matchup as well before, and he actually told me, he's like, I didn't want to play this guy, which I also thought was weird, because I'm like, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well, but he's facing a bit of a beast, a guy that's been known as a little bit of a TvT sniper over the ages. Coming out of Canada, it is the Red Terran MaSa. It's really cool. He's wearing his father's glasses for this match.
Some of the players bring in the good style. I actually stay in control. I like the glasses that you've been wearing at this event as well. Very, very stylish.
I need them, otherwise I cannot see.
Being able to see is important. And this SCV scout will also allow MaSa to see what's going on the other side of the map. He is not wearing glasses because he's a super space suit SCV in outer space. But there he goes, and he finds the barracks. 2 gas geysers being mined, so this is likely to be a very quick Reaper, followed by a factory at the same time. It'll basically be used to try and maybe put on some early pressure. There's only 1 gas being taken from MaSa, so he's going to be a little more on the defensive side of things. Maybe try to get that expansion up a little bit sooner.
And on the flip side, we see Kelazhur's not doing any scouting. So what does that kind of mean for TvT, Nathaniel?
I think his build is a little bit too safe against anything. It's like, well, I don't really need to SCV scout, because if you're a proxy Reapering me, well, I'm going to be able to get a Cyclone out quickly, which is what I would want anyway. If you're proxy Maraudering me, I'm going to be able to get a Cyclone out, which would be what I want anyway. And if you're doing anything else, I'd probably be able to get a fast Cyclone out, which would be what I want anyway. So
Cyclone seems to be that kind of...
Some players still go for the Hellion. We saw it earlier. He is going to get the Hellion this time, and the reason why you do that is you want to put the gas, instead of into that factory play, you want to lean it earlier into something like that Banshee we did see earlier in this tournament, or a quick Liberator.
This is a bit odd. Oh, it actually went up the ramp, by the way.
Yeah, I think he realized he's going to lose the Reaper, so he's like, well, I guess I'll kill an SCV. And he sees the command center as well, so he's like, okay, well, your factory's a little bit slower.
Yeah, he sees what's happening without getting in there, but going to the ramp was a bit of an odd choice. I mean, not to like overanalyze this, but that is a way for him to get locked in.
You don't want to lose that Reaper, because it takes a little bit of the punch out of this follow-up, because the Hellion comes up with the Reaper now. He does have a Cyclone in production, but...
This can't threaten anything, though. This would actually take 45 years to kill a bunker, or a depot, excuse me.
There's not
a lot. Get a continuation scout, shows up.
Playing around the ramp with the Hellion is nice, because he can damage the Marines a bit, and this Cyclone should be able to shut down that Reaper very easily. So the Hellion can be annoying against the Marines here, while that Reaper tries to delay the starport, and it almost kind of did that, but not really. And it is going to be cloaked Banshees out of Kelazhur. So instead of going for the really fast Cyclone, he wanted to have a little bit of extra gas prepared to get his starport follow-up.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. He shot his own depot.
Got angry there for a second. But faster expansion is going to come out from MaSa, and it's going to be about the damage of the Banshee from Kelazhur, but it did get scouted, if I'm not mistaken, so that's going to be a tough call.
We have seen it a little bit already in this tournament. I'm actually think back to Thermal series, where that Banshee was disgusting in terms of the effectiveness. He's going to blow down that cooling tower and slow down the attack path.
He's going to cool down the attack path, Nate. Back to you.
He put that push on ice.
Oh, God.
Technically he got rid of the cooling tower. So
he did.
It's not He's heating things up.
Let's just...
He burned a bridge.
We're doing so many dad jokes right now that we're becoming grandfathers. It's just
okay.
terrible.
It's okay. Oh, the Banshee.
Does intercept it, gets a lot of health off that, and the cloak's not finished just yet, so it's not like he's just was holding off on that. He actually didn't have it. He's going to have it now.
But now he knows
the Raven's
too.
popping out soon.
Yeah, and he knows that it's there, so he's already prepared to grab it as soon as possible.
Bring it back.
Kill maybe a Marine or two, and then the Raven's going to pop out, and that'll be it. It'll die. The Cyclone comes up from the left side with the Hellion, but it's not enough. He's got his own Cyclone locked down.
And MaSa all over this. But what I've learned is that when things die in TvT, not to get too terribly excited, because I always, the eternal words of Todd in my mind, look at the supply. It doesn't, it ebbs and flows back and forth, but stays pretty close.
The supply is a bit deceiving in this matchup.
A lot of production in TvT.
Yeah, you can do, the swings are insane because of the power of some units, most notably the Siege tank. And haven't we seen many times in this tournament already? I think I'll go back to the Thermal series, the only other TvT we broadcast. The big Doom drops. They can be so scary. They can swing the tides of a big fight very, very quickly. And things like upgrades have a huge impact. The use of things like the Vikings, the Ravens with those auto turrets, which are very, very strong. They're all crucial elements that don't really have like a directly tangible value. It's all about how you use them. Having a big army with medevacs is nice, but if you can get it boosted on top of the other guy's barracks and kill other add-ons, like you can just win the game instantly.
I do like MaSa taking air control. This is something I love seeing in TvT. He's going to have the Raven for those PDDs like you were talking about, even auto turrets, but also getting the Vikings, which can do things like space out the medevacs with like this sight for tanks, that kind of stuff. Both players are vying for that, and that is always kind of a pivotal spot in a TvT, is who gets the little edge in that way and can stop the other player from dropping all over the place.
In big fights in those later stages, or these like the drop phase, the Vikings are extremely useful as well because they, weirdly enough, every Terran building is mechanical because it can be repaired, so the Vikings do bonus damage to those as well. They're not even bad at helping with these big attacks if you need to land them. It looks like MaSa.
Oh my god.
He's like sneaking to the right side, but now he's completely exposed.
Come home, he says.
He has nothing there, and he blew up the destroyed cooling tower, so he's like, okay, well, I could drop an auto turret on your tank, reverse sandwich, but he's got more.
I don't even know what to do with that reverse sandwich, but auto turret's going down a little bit prematurely, getting a little bit of damage on the orbital, but that's not much.
Oh my god.
Here come the boys, and the Vikings are going to land. They're going to go after the tanks immediately. Doesn't even get any shots off. A nice cleanup from MaSa here. Well, it's not. Never mind.
Those 3 auto turrets were absolutely incredibly important to help smack that down. You can see the damage. The burst damage is just nuts. He kills 12 SCVs.
But look at Kelazhur. He does pull ahead in supply pretty strongly here.
Yep, and as far as the upgrade situation goes, I think we got Stim done for MaSa, but he couldn't do a whole lot with it because he just got pushed back like that. He lost everything that he had, most importantly his siege tanks. But he does have his +1 attack coming in, and we don't have that even started yet. The engineering bays are just now being built by Kelazhur, so we'll be a little bit behind in upgrades, but I think with the economy that you just mentioned, he should be able to produce enough units to at least stall long enough for that to not be a huge deal.
Yeah, the tanks are kind of the great equalizer there. That's another reason why the supply swings aren't as big of a deal. If you can't just immediately then drop on top of the production like you were talking about, going through 1, 2, or 3 tanks, those 3 tanks can make up the difference of 10, 20 supply pretty quickly. Like you can't push into them. So you can be behind in supply, but with tanks have an equal fighting chance, or at least a defender's chance. And you can already see MaSa is closing the gap in that supply as we talked about. So the defense was nice, and the attack from Kelazhur gave him like a momentary respite and a slight lead here, but nothing too much.
And you mentioned that air control earlier. In control, he's had these Vikings outside of Kelazhur's base. He's basically saying, all right, well, I can put a Marine in front of your base. As soon as I see you leaving, I just drop 3 medevacs in and blow everything up. So this Cyclone's dancing around the middle. All he has to do is wait, and look at this. A big load up there. Both players are going to do big drops.
Oh, what?
Because he's just him. But he's like, okay, that's nice. Now I'm in your base.
But a little bit spread out. He drops directly on top of the bear,
Oh my.
A bit of a weird spot here.
Combat Shields gets killed as well. It's very important. These siege tanks will be able to one-shot the stimmed Marines of Kelazhur that come in here and try to defend this. All he needs to do is focus fire his siege tanks onto the Marines of Kelazhur, and MaSa's going to get a ton of damage when he's cleaned up the add-ons, he's cleaned up the tech lab, he's cleaned up a lot of these reactors. He could kill this orbital command, he could go for the starport. There's so much potential. Auto turrets can drop, the Marines run in, and we can see the tank splash so strong.
Oh man, I expect this Marines actually to kind of defeat this attack, but they just straight up die. The tank's sitting behind this. Eventually this will get cleaned up, but it's done so much damage. Like you said, combat shield dying, and even a pickup here from MaSa just to be a little bit more annoying. He still has that one Viking, but the point is there's no counter Viking to him, so he can even go behind this and be safe for a little while longer if he wants to. A little bit sloppy. That's actually just going to be it. Kelazhur taps out. GG is called. He did fall behind 50 supply there. And the drop, like you talked about, Nathaniel, if you get on top of that production, it's so tough.
Those swings in TvT are devastating because everything was coming up aces for Kelazhur there. The only thing that MaSa actually had in terms of an edge was the +1 attack. So when the Marines started to fight a bit, his Marines won very easily, but they also had combat shields because of the timing that he dropped. And it's all about that awareness, that map positioning, about being on top of where your opponent's army is, and that's the deadly part of TvT. That's a very frustrating way to lose a game because your buildings all being together like that makes it impossible to try and like counter drop on top of them or pull your SCVs. You're just kind of stuck in that position as Kelazhur. His 1-1 was almost done right as the game ended as well.
And now a very worrisome spot. Both Smix, you, Ravi, we're all talking about this, but Kelazhur put it out there pretty heavily that of all the players in the round of 16, MaSa is the one that is probably most inside of his head, the one he did not want to face the most. And now 0-1, it is a best of 5, so the series is a little bit larger than a best of 3. If it's best of 3, it's very scary. Best of 5, you have a little bit of grace period, but he does not want to go down 0-2 because there's almost no coming back from that.
Yeah, that's a terrible spot to be in. And I was surprised as well because I went to talk to Kelazhur earlier. I think it was like during the second match, and was like, yo, you have a good match. I'm like, I feel like you've had a really good year. Like, you should be pretty confident going into this. He's like, no, actually. He's like, MaSa's one of the dudes that just did not want to play. And I didn't quite get it, but, ooh. And Kelazhur really just definitely had a rough start there in control.
I don't blame the camera guy. I don't even know what to do.
I don't have anything to say.
Well, there's so many jokes to be made, but of course, most of those would get me fired. So we're just going to kind of get back to StarCraft.
Just keep going.
I think that guy's laughing too.
Everybody else is having a good time, though. Cover your face. It's okay. Nothing to be ashamed of.
It's a lot of fun here.
A lot of people out there like to watch TvT. Maybe.
Yeah. We're going to have a momentary break here.
The next map is Abyssal Reef, by the way.
Okay.
So I think it's a little bit less of a hectic map. That's the other thing we didn't really talk about. Defender's Landing is just so short. It kind of asks for those ridiculous games where people just kill each other very quickly. We are counting down. The game is starting to load. So we are going to get into map number 2 of Kelazhur versus MaSa. You guys are watching the World Championship Series Valencia, as we're here in wonderful Spain. Apparently, it's lucky that we're on the coast, because apparently it's like a huge heat wave warning for actual Spain.
What?
Yeah, apparently it's like up
a
to
warning?
Like 40 degrees Celsius plus, like really, really hot.
Wow.
Yeah.
So don't put your popsicles outside of the freezer is what you're saying.
Yeah. You could fry an egg on your car, probably, if Spanish people drive a lot of cars.
Well, that is hot. About as hot as the Whisper Kiss thing that we saw just moments ago. But we're going to get inside this game here in this best of 5 on Abyssal Reef, on the lower right-hand side. Hailing from Brazil, it is Kelazhur.
He's had a pretty good year, 2 extremely good finishes in the previous circuit events, and this man had a really good 2016, but this is where he's got to step it up. In the Northwest, the Red Terran player from Canada, he is Elevate's MaSa.
Looking good. First game, a little bit of a spotty defense, found himself behind, went for the Doom drop, microed it really well, and took a decisive victory, a pretty quick one. Kelazhur had a force. I mean, he was actually ahead of supply going into that, but it just kind of shows what a positional matchup TvT is. If you can get into that critical spot with how powerful tanks are and with how much DPS those Marines are flinging around, it can be death. You have to be able to counter the position of those guys, not just have more of them.
You must be ever vigilant in these situations. And strangely enough, MaSa sent out a very early SCV scout to see what was going on. And it seemed like, well, he just went for 2 racks.
Oh yeah.
And he's not building a 3rd yet. He's gonna start, no, he gets another depot. Okay, I have no idea what he's doing. He's opening up 2 racks Reaper with 1 gas.
It's crazy.
I didn't know people still did this. It seemed like he was maybe a bit worried about getting cheesed, but Kelazhur's playing this one pretty straight up. He's just doing a Reaper expand. He's building the command center in his main, so he's not taking any chances. And I guess the potential is here for it to just bowl Kelazhur over because you know what? One thing he's been doing is he goes to this factory and the reactor, so he could only have one Reaper potentially. No, he gets another Reaper. So he just decides that this game he's going to get a second Reaper instead of going for that reactor. So, oh yeah, it's just odd. Just a 2 racks Reaper expand. This is.
Well, I think you called it correctly, Nate. I think he was looking to play safe. Kelazhur is actually pretty well known for his proxy barracks. And
yes.
This map does have, I've seen that a lot in TvT. There's a lot of opportunity for that. It's very hard to find those proxy spots. A lot of good elevating spots there, like our wonderful observer is showing us right here. So I think it was a little bit of a mind game. It whiffed, but it's not like he counter all in.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look down there at the metrics, fairly similar.
Maybe he was hoping that Kelazhur would cheese him and that the goal here was that the 2 racks Reaper would shut it down, which it would, by the way. And he would have the option to go for a defensive 3 racks.
Oh my
Weird
God.
as that sounds. So his Reapers come up. They're going to fight, throws the grenades. Not able to get a whole lot done, of course. The high ground is going to be enough for him to buy his time. But as soon as that Hellion pops, this little pressure should end unless he gets both Reapers before the Hellion. Okay, and there it is. And it's, okay, so another Reaper does show up. He has the potential to get a little bit more damage done here. It throws for the repairs, but the grenade is going to push the Hellion back. Weirdly enough, those SCVs repairing do block the pathing for the Hellion, so he can't kite anymore.
Yeah. Ends up being a little bit of a scare tactic more than anything else. He does scout the starport, though.
It's a very awkward start to this game. But you're right, he sees the starport. He knows kind of what's coming here. I guess it's going to be into a Raven. But the weird thing about this 2x Reaper thing is that he actually has an extremely quick stim starting up. So I'm imagining that we're going to see him basically place like Terran versus Protoss, where he's just going to get up, get 16 Marines, 2 medevacs, and just try to go kill him because he won't have his tech far ahead enough to deal with it.
It's not a bad idea to play a TVP in this case because most times the Protoss just die. So in this case, it would be a 2-0 victory for the best of 5. I like it. I like it, Nathanius.
I trust
poignant.
your expertise in losing PVTs in control.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
Well, I'm one of the experts at that.
Chuck
in the grenade, trying to buy some time, I mean, ultimately he's going to lose this fight, though.
Yeah. The Reapers actually, in like old school, I think they actually win 1v1. It's using the position of the Hellions that allows you to kill the Reapers in this.
This is new school, Nathanius.
Yeah, new school, where Reapers
are
actually
street balling it.
Where Reapers actually don't shoot as much as they could because they're throwing the grenades, and then they don't hit the Hellions, so they just take more damage. It's actually worse in that case if you're fighting 1v1 to throw the grenade against the Hellion.
Well, today I learned. The Banshee does get perfectly scouted. It was scouted earlier, and now it was scanned. So sometimes that can be a Raven, but this time he does see it's the Banshee. So I almost wonder if this close gets canceled, or does Kelazhur just kind of go with it? And this is just textbook MaSa, by the way. I don't know that it's going to work out super awesome, but he is so aggressive. He has no problem peeling out units and just doing weird stuff like this.
Yeah, so Banshee looks about to finish, but look
good,
at that.
Good grab.
Yeah, splashes on a couple of these other ones. Those Marines are going to one-tap a few of those guys, and it's a little bit frustrating, but there's not a whole lot here to deal with it or fight back.
Oh, this hurts. And it's just so offbeat. Like, the Marines showing up right now, you can see there's just barely any units at all.
He throws the auto turret to the north side, so the SCVs have to fight into a choke. They can't even get on top of these Marines. There's the stim. More SCVs die. You pull the
Delayed
SCVs.
mining time. It's just so good.
Yeah. Pull the SCVs, put the turret on the south side where the Marines have to run to hide. But not what he did. Now this Banshee on the other side of the map, peeling off a good few units. That third base, very, very heavily delayed. Still not being worked on anymore by MaSa.
I'm impressed this Banshee ended up working out the way it did, though. It's getting some pretty
10
decent
kills.
damage.
This has been a very awkward game, too.
When was the last time you saw something this awkward, Nathanius?
About 2 minutes ago.
Yep.
Yep.
That's the correct answer. I was kind of just testing you there.
No worries.
Now here's the counter strange push from Kelazhur. He's done a lot of damage to the Banshee. The Banshee seems to still be reigning supreme. There's no Vikings out there. It's like Marines pushing it off. So why not use it as a spotter? It's got decent DPS. And Kelazhur's going to go with this low unit count, high-tech push.
This has a lot of potential to do damage because the siege tank, even with the stim on the other side, as soon as you stim those Marines, that siege tank, with the damage it does, will be killing these Marines in one single shot. He has a huge amount of firepower. Getting this pushback after the damage he received is extremely important. The Banshee can play a little bit of position, and it also gives him some power to neutralize the opposing siege tank that's coming in. MaSa steps forward. His tank taking direct damage from the opposing tank. The Banshee gets the last shot to finish it off, but now that he's getting the Marines, he should be able to just land the Viking right on top and kill him. He scans to kill one Marine.
A few more tank shots there, but a nice push ultimately. But again, I just always like, wow, great attack. And then you look down and you're like, they're about even in every way, shape, and form.
TvT has that weird way of being like that because of the seesaw motion. things that we can take from the previous game. +1 attack will be done much faster from MaSa, just like it was in game 1. But Kelazhur is getting both upgrades together, so it's
Equal.
not as... Yeah, it ends up, you say that, but then this +1, he had that advantage during the final fight of the last game, because 1-1 was...
It's like a bolt in the
barely
chamber.
done.
Like, it can be the winning decision
Yeah.
there. Gonna try for a drop on the right side, but it gets picked up here by that tank. Kelazhur is pulling ahead in supply right now, as he does have the much faster third.
I expect to see another big drop play, honestly. Like, that's what TvT right now, with the way that bio works and the damage of tanks. That's what it's all about. Those big drops, trying to catch people. You don't have that airspace cliff into the main like you do on a map like Defender's Landing. So it's a bit trickier. You can play around different things like the natural expansion, that cliff behind the mineral line.
I'm always surprised with that being true that there's not earlier sensor towers. Like, players will get around to it around like 10, 12-minute mark, but they're not super expensive. And if you put a couple on the, like, behind your natural and above your third, that spots everything. Everything comes in there. You absolutely see it.
Terran players definitely used to be way more stubborn about it. I think on 3 bases, a lot more Terran players make sure to get them in both bases, because it is the #1 way that lose games is get hit by those Doom drops.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of tough to squeeze it in this early. You try to put these units out on the map that can spot, but you don't want to...
I don't know. I'm doing that caster thing where I know better than these pro players that play 500 million hours more than me, but look at their resources. They almost always have enough money for it.
I play Mackie Control. I love sensor towers.
Me too.
They
In
are,
theory.
They are good. There it is.
Yeah, there's one.
And we have one starting right now for MaSa.
There's both of them.
psychological.
All right,
There's a
thanks,
psychological effect. There's a psychological effect of TvT where when you see the sensor tower on the other side, you're like, why is he building a sensor tower? Oh, he's thinking about Doom drops. Why is he thinking about Doom drops?
Why am I not thinking about Doom drops?
Why don't I have sensor towers? And then boom, everybody gets sensor towers.
And they go,
It's a fair
what are
party.
Doom drops even?
Yeah. But that's the thing, you get 2. You put one by the natural, one by the third base. Because that is how you lose most TvTs on ladder. You usually just die to a big Doom drop because you barely looked away for 2 seconds.
If a drop doesn't do massive damage, was it a Doom drop?
Well, it could be a Doom drop for the person doing the drop.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
These guys get in here, though, and the positioning's so strong. Kelazhur's going to do a lot of damage. You could almost even pick off the orbital. The counter drop not doing the same. He is going to get the orbital. It dies. GG immediately. Kelazhur striking the blow, the DPS from those Marines. Too good.
That was
strong.
so awkward. So we had that supply advantage that we were talking about earlier. He was building himself up. He had the third base planted down very quickly. All nice things for Kelazhur. And then with the sensor towers going up, MaSa had some units out on the map. 2 of those siege tanks were loaded into medevac, so they weren't back home defending. MaSa tried to do a little bit of drop play on Kelazhur's third, but he had the tanks positioned. Yeah. Kelazhur played much more conservatively. You notice that he made that big push. He did not use any of his tanks. He left them all at home. And just things like that. You have this core set up between your natural and your third because you're saying to yourself, I'm ready to catch a Doom drop. And then he's like, well, I'm not Doom dropping you. I'm going to run 40 Marines into your third because your army's way out of position. And that's
a Doom jog, man.
Yeah.
Get it?
Doom sprint.
All right.
Yeah.
They did stem, I suppose. This has been like a boxing match between 2 one-punch men. Like, just every time one guy's like, this is my attack, the other guy's like, wow, I was not ready for that. GG.
Just insta-kill.
We're going to go into game number 3 here. Talk to me about Proxima State. I mean, I can kind of even do it for you. This is the air map. It's just well known for everyone. If you're a Protoss player, you do a lot of Stargate play. You'll see mutas on here from Zerg and from Terran. You'll see medevacs and Doom drops and flying stuff.
So the common theme of TvT that we will bring up every single game in Control is that this is another map that is great for Doom drops. The walking distance is just dozens of kilometers and kilometers since we're in Europe, trying to get to that gold base area if you don't break down the rocks early. And that just means the other guy can bounce between sieging your third base up front and then loading everything up in medevacs and jumping straight to your main base. It is an extremely difficult map to stop those big drop plays because you also have, well, as a Protoss or Zerg player, anybody tuning in would be like, oh yeah, you can drop from almost every possible angle, including behind the main base, because you cannot block all of that off with missile turrets either.
We'll see how these players adjust. The first 2 games featured very quick and decisive violence. Both players tried some small attacks, but when they really muscled up and did their big attack, it was the death blow. And that's actually really hard for them mentally even. This best of 5 is moving very quick.
Yep.
We talked about how Kelazhur was kind of doubting himself going into this, but I would even remind you to remember yesterday when MaSa was on stage with Smix and her question was, you know, you had a bit of a rough year. Talk to us about it. And he's like, yeah, my goal was to just get here, and here I am. I'm so excited. But he, too, talked about how his own performance has been depressing him and upsetting him. So the amazing thing about the WCS is it features how these players are being given these opportunities. It's really cool. It's special that way. But it also piles on a lot of pressure on them. And we have a good time, Nate, but it's actually almost stressful for us to watch these guys because this is so important to them, so big.
You build these expectations with these results that you get. We are loading into Proxima Station now, but like I was saying before, MaSa in 2016 really came out. He had a stunning performance at Austin, and he showed up throughout the rest of the year with really great results, moving further and further forward. Didn't quite, of course, make it to the global playoffs, but that's been Kelazhur's story this year, where he had the great performance in Austin, his best result he'd ever had, and then basically his best result ever again at Jönköping. And can he keep that momentum moving forward in control? In the bottom left position, the blue Terran player, he is Kelazhur.
We'll see. If momentum's the name of the game, then looking to regain it is going to be this guy in the top right-hand side from Canada. It's MaSa. Just not ready for those yogging Marines. We're going to get a proxy.
Oh my God. Right to the bottom right side.
And this is what you know what I love about this? Last game, MaSa was predicting this move right here. And would he double blink? Would he double blink that this is what he's going to face? He's scouting for it.
Well, there's another reason why you could also call this Proxy Me Station, because there's a million places to put this stuff in control. You could check all the back areas, like where Haas tried to proxy Stargate against Special earlier. You could build it here. You could build it by the gold minerals in the top left. And it's just going to be straight up. Since he's building the barracks next to each other, he doesn't have room for add-ons, so it will be Reapers and not anything like a weird Marauder build or factory build.
He's going to find out. He's going to pull up into that main and see no barracks. But you know what I always found funny about this situation? It's like, if you scout too much for a proxy and don't see it, it actually completely crushes your ability to even know it's coming, because by the time you get to their main, it's a little bit too late. Now, that's not the case here. He did scout one spot and then go there. So yeah, it's slightly delayed, but he's got time to recover, right, Nathaniel? He's not dead yet.
This is the worst map in the pool for Proxy Reaper. The reason why you would do it is because why would you think another guy would do it?
I know. So that logic, by the way, might have been why I did not win very many StarCraft games. Like, this build shouldn't work, but what if
look at this.
They're not expecting it?
The way that he positioned this bunker here, it blocks the only area that a Reaper can jump up, which means even if he were to be outnumbered or lose his first Reaper, he has to wait for him to break down that wall to do anything else. So now the natural follow-up is he's going to build a factory, because he's like, okay, well, I actually won't be able to do anything. You have Reapers inside of a bunker that have high ground vision superiority. I mean, like, can't do anything with that. So he's going to lift off one of the barracks, float him home.
Double proxy.
And, oh my God. Well,
how do you just proxy and proxy?
There's nothing at home to build, right? So as MaSa, you defend, proxy a Liberator, you siege it on the command center, and it's game. You can't do anything. You have to lift it off or move it away or build 10,000 missile turrets.
Excellent. A good game plan. We'll see if he gets there. He did not see the factory here. But with the Reaper out on the map, he's going to be able to figure that out pretty quick. And that even also passes within just meters of seeing the proxy there.
Really like that MaSa is building a Widow Mine out of his factory. I would love to see him put one on the ramp, push this army away. It's possible that he just floats one of the barracks forward to give vision for whatever it is that he's going to build. He has that Cyclone away. And now the Reaper's here. There's nothing to deal with this. This is a situation where it's just your APM. The more that you can micro this Reaper, just the further and further you'll put yourself ahead, but you have to, of course, make sure that you don't not build anything back home. Don't forget, his Proxy Liberator is also about to finish.
Well, APM, you say, we actually have a readout of that. You can see he was hovering just around 400 as he's controlling this, and he's getting a lot of kills. Not only is he scouting this whole thing, here come the other Reapers to finally close it down. But he just got so much done. He saw so much. And there's that Liberator we're talking about, and there's not an answer for it. Not even Marines coming out of there.
Nope.
Nothing.
He's building a Cloak Banshee and more Cyclones outside of MaSa's base. All MaSa's
maybe insta-GG. No, he's going to pick up and go.
And he's probably going to try to build one Marine at a time, but he hasn't even started one, so he's got a ways to go in control. Like, in the natural, he's like, let me just deposit a few more minerals. Nope, never mind.
He's hoping that the cloaked Banshee is just somehow there's no answer for it at all.
He's throwing the deep ball here and just praying someone catches it. But there's a missile turret.
The second he sees the missile turret, I think he might just be out.
Yeah, there's not really anything he can do. He could try to bust the front, maybe like just jump him. He brought the Cyclone all the way back, actually. Both Cyclones.
Yeah, so I guess
he can't jump the wall. That's the thing. All he can do is throw this Banshee, hit the turret, and be like, well, I guess.
Look at the damage, though. 33 supply to 50. He's down 11 workers.
And there's nothing to defend, by the way, his proxy anymore. He could move these Cyclones down and just kill the tech lab. He could have theoretically denied cloak. But yeah, he comes up here. There's the turret. Okay, what are you going to do?
Flutters by.
Oh, he's also proxying Cloak Banshee now. He followed that up with that. Nice.
And that will have very little in the way of an answer. There's no detection. He will have scan in theory, but that's assuming he doesn't drop a mule. It is just a tough spot for Kelazhur. He tried some stuff, but MaSa was just one step ahead, maybe a little bit too deep in his head. And here comes that Banshee. He's got the Cyclones. I believe he has the energy for a scan, but their anti-air damage is just not phenomenal. And as I say that,
well he should have waited. He should have waited a little bit longer for Cloak. Definitely gave.
This is what I was envisioning right there.
Yeah. The Cyclones, they really don't do a whole lot of damage versus air, but he was over open space without Cloak.
Well, that was as good as it gets for Kelazhur, by the way. I really expected that Banshee to pull out and come back later, and now there's no scan. It's just killing 9, 12, something like that SCVs, but not the case. He's holding on.
That should have been a much more devastating Banshee.
Yeah. They're about even in losses, but you can see again in the supply, it's a little bit in favor of MaSa, and that's just because of the different openings here.
That's tilting right there. That Banshee gets in and out again. Has to burn the scan. Almost got the Cyclone as well. And now both players are expanding. He's building a Raven at the proxy starport.
You know what Britney Spears once said, though, Nathanius?
Hit me, baby, one more time.
She did say that, but she also said, almost doesn't count.
Did she, though?
Yeah, it's a beautiful song.
Okay.
It's a sad one.
I'll have to study up. Now this is the Banshee that we were talking about before. This is that nightmarish Amazonian Banshee that just one-taps you. GG! MaSa takes our next map.
Yeah, the first Banshee actually ended up a little bit disastrous. It could have done exactly what we just saw there, but Kelazhur was able to pull one rabbit out of the hat. Unfortunately, there was not a second.
And keep in mind, he did build a Raven, but because he proxied everything, that Raven was on the other side of the map. She's like, well, yeah, my detection won't be here in time. I'm going to lose every one of my SCVs.
And this is a tough game because Kelazhur, I thought he was doing something very smart, but like you said, he went deep. He went deep for the risk play there, going for a play that on this map is uniquely terrible if they wall in the top of that ramp.
Proxy Reaper is awful on this map and is generally only good if your opponent doesn't SCV scout the way that MaSa did, because you don't have to just put a bunker there. If you're opening with a really fast factory, you could just start an eBay and just block it like TvP style, because the Reaper's not going to kill that. Yeah. So it's like, okay, yeah, maybe they'll work on your depot for a little bit. You have to burn 1 or 2 SCVs to repair, but that almost always gives you enough time to get up something else if you rushed out a factory, or, well, it would pretty much only be a factory in that case.
Yeah.
But well, we're going to go to Blood Boil next. Another map where we could see where the Reaper shenanigans are actually pretty good.
The guy's rubbing his nipple a little bit too vigorously there. Tone it down.
It's okay to be excited about StarCraft,
It's been an exciting series. I get it.
StarCraft excites me as well. There's nothing wrong with being passionate.
Yeah, but even it out. Go for both nipples at least in the future. We're going to head to Blood Boil here, as it is 2-1 in favor of MaSa.
That is correct. I don't think that MaSa is also like the normal playing guy all the time either.
No.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he was the one that threw out the Reaper cheese here. Because now you got to imagine he's in Kelazhur's head a little bit. So obviously I mentioned it. Fear Dragon mentioned it earlier that we both ended up talking to him about the wonderful mindset he had going into this match. And well, he's definitely in his head now.
Jeez, you guys.
StarCraft just gets people that fired up. That fired up in control.
Spain is just a very passionate, romantic country. You know, just a lot of very excitable people.
Siesta, Sangria, and StarCraft. What do you need? The 3 S's, man. In Spain. Boom.
Heat wave warnings, I guess. But the only warning we got there was the camera guy. As we go...
we are loaded in to Blood Boil in the bottom right position. We have the blue Terran player from Brazil trailing 1-2. He is Kelazhur. Everything this series has been crazy in Control.
It's been a bit crazy.
From the games to the crowd. Thank you for being a part of it.
Wouldn't have it any other way. In the top left-hand side, getting to match point, looking to move on. It's the red Terran, MaSa. And it looks like we're not going to get any mind plays from him. He's scouting around. He's expecting Kelazhur to triple blink on this one.
Yep.
Try something crazy. He's not going to lose to that right now. Blood Boil, another map that has multiple entryways, so I guess you have to check for it.
No proxies, but look at this. He's going to do this 2-Rax Reaper opening in.
I think that's the counter cheese, though, again.
Yeah. It's just, you know, it's a very middle of the road way to do it because, yeah, it can help defend against this stuff, but it usually doesn't have that punch to actually kill the other guy. So if Kelazhur just plays like a 1-Rax expand on the high ground again or something like that, or he opens up with like Reaper Alien, he should generally come out ahead just because his tech is much faster.
I don't mind it though, Nathanius. I really don't. In a best of 5, you are playing against Kelazhur, who literally has a reputation amongst the pro players as being like Mr. Proxy. He loves to cheese. He's obviously a fantastic player, but in a best of 5, 2 or 3 times he will go into that bag of tricks. And MaSa's play, I agree with you, puts him behind against normal plays, so that's where he's been. We'll see if he can again kind of capitalize on that. But on the flip side, if he is facing that cheese, it's like an insta win too.
Yeah,
the 2 barracks just absolutely shuts down and murders whatever proxy he faces.
Your SCV pops out and like kind of stops one of the proxied barracks from being built for a little bit, and that gives you enough time. Your 2 Reapers show up. The other guy's like, I thought you only have 1 max, and then you instantly defend the cheese, and life is great. But in this case, there's always the potential though, because he could still jump Kelazhur's Reaper that comes across the map to scout. And if he does that, then the counterplay is still there because we already saw that on the previous map when he did it, and it was actually not that terrible because he got in the base. He almost, I think he got the Hellion. He did get the Reapers, maybe an SCV. There's opportunities there, and now he's got 3 Reapers. So it all depends on his positioning. If he can get him outside this base, that's a very nice pickup.
He does get it. 3 Reapers to 0, but back at home, already the Hellion coming out, a second Hellion even, so he has more than enough to shut this down.
2 Hellions with the Reapers should be more than enough. Depends on where he wants to jump in and jump around. We cannot underestimate, of course, the strength of those grenades. If he's able to get into a position where he's on the even ground and he can see the Hellions and the Reaper, he could actually win a fight against them just by delaying their attacks with the grenades. So he comes up the ramp, he pokes around, and he's just going to try to be as much of a nuisance as possible.
Not be able to be too much of a one, though.
The 3 Reapers, unless they take 6 splash damage, will beat the Hellions. So he needs to make sure the Hellions don't run too far ahead of the Reaper, because he does need that grenade mixed in here.
Cool.
He's trying to get that side splash damage. He's not able to make use of the line damage just yet. There he gets a very nice shot off. And you can see it mostly comes down to the Hellions being able to shoot more than one of the Reapers at once. The AoE damage of the Hellion is really nice against Reapers.
And there is going to be that cloaked Banshee coming out for Kelazhur. He's going to return to that. Followed up by the Raven, kind of a defensive Raven in the background here. And he's going to push out with these few units. He does clean up those Hellions, or excuse me, Reapers. And a lot of times, too, behind the Reapers, players will be cutting corners a little bit. It's going to be Marines here out from MaSa, but a lot of times you're not facing too much of a force behind that.
Nope. These Marines are going to go straight to the ramp. He's like, you're not looking at Charmy right now, are you? And he's like, well, no, you're right, I'm not. Almost got the Hellion there, too. And he will. Boom. Now the Cyclone pops out, and not really going to be able to do anything on its own without being able to look up the cliff. Could get a couple of the Marines, maybe? Well, the Banshee's here, too, so now that I think about it, he's actually very softened up. He needs to bring the Marines back. Dat mine, though.
Nice shot. Reduces the Banshee down to very minimum health, and it is just this Banshee, by the way. There's no reinforcements coming up behind that, but the Hellion able to soften up a lot of these Marines, gets a few more kills here. That being said, though, this Banshee is like it's got like 3 shots in it until it dies to Marines and 1 shot from missile turrets, so its use here is limited.
That mineral patch isn't very well covered by the missile turret, though, so I can't say... Oh, he can really just hold a position on the natural, and then this Raven with the auto turret can come in and be very annoying.
The cloak being annoying, that was a Viking, but it did come in and save itself. And here's that auto turret you're talking about, Nathanius, at least in theory.
If he drops it on the Marines, he'll also kill those very quickly because they're still beaten up from that earlier harass, so you can't quite push onto this. Very annoying early pressure. Kelazhur back home, though. He's got his stem on the way. He's getting a couple of extra barracks, his reactor on his starport. at the very least, he hasn't had to worry about defending anything since the Reapers were dealt with early on.
Yeah, that's one of the kind of unspoken things about being the aggressor is you are keeping tabs on them. I mean, again, not to beat a dead horse, but we look at this and they're basically even. Army, worker count, upgrades, very, very similar techs. But it's Kelazhur that knows exactly where MaSa is and where he's going. MaSa has an idea based on what's come at him, but he doesn't know what's going on the other side of the map. Is it a fast third? Is it double engineering bay? You know, what kind of corners is Kelazhur cutting? He has no idea. So there is certainly an element of danger in that way.
And one thing I'd like to mention was the last time that MaSa did this, he had an advantage because he followed up that Reaper play with a very quick stim. Kelazhur's stim is further ahead than his. So he's not going to be able to make some crazy sick fast bio push or medevac drop. I mean, he can surely try, but he won't have an advantage in upgrades of any kind because he was dealing with that counter pressure from the Hellion, from the Cyclone, from the Banshee, and then the Raven as well. So Kelazhur's definitely got a pretty good amount of momentum in this map, and he should be probably the first person to make that aggressive play, I feel, just because he has not been swayed at all. But then again, MaSa definitely doesn't mind throwing his units across the map very quickly either.
Yeah, and that's part of what makes playing against MaSa so difficult. We saw that earlier where it was just like he just had 9 or 10 Marines queued up for almost the exact moment stim finished to show up at the natural. And that was uniquely an annoying time because Kelazhur is also an aggressive player, so it's a very scary matchup. TvT, like you've been talking about, has that ability to just decisively end because you jump on top of someone's production, but I feel like that's made even worse by it being MaSa and Kelazhur, both players that would love, I mean, their play style is to do exactly that.
Yep, stuff like this where you throw out these Marines one at a time at the watchtowers is also extremely important because I believe the Southeast Zelnaga is taken by MaSa. He has a Widow Mine under his Marine, and this allows him to kind of see this drop moving out right now. He sees it. It's actually going to fly over, and the mine is going to paste a few of these units. Doesn't hit the medevac directly. It could have gotten a kill with some damage from the Marines, but he knows now, and he's like, okay, well, that's not a lot. I can leave my rallied forces at home, siege a tank in my main. Look at that. He cancels the third. He's like, hold inside, and I'm going to send a drop across the map, and you are not going to have enough to deal with it because you've got to drop across the map.
This is something we haven't talked about just yet, but Blood Boil, kind of similar to Proxima Station in the sense that it's actually a very drop-heavy map.
And this
when we pass the tower, it's a bit of an interesting choice. I mean, well, interesting choice is the polite way of saying kind of bad.
You usually don't see units put on the super far out ones early on.
Yeah, but to play, I mean, he was just on the fringe of vision, so it's like, you know.
Yeah. Well, he had this Raven out here because he was like, oh, you're going to have any Vikings? He's like, no, let me just run up here, free Raven, noise. And then he's going to pull back. His drop can still get a little bit done because this command center is a tad exposed, but look at this. He just charges straight up the ramp. That siege tank's not in range to stop him, and I believe that was his combat shield that was being researched. So MaSa will be far behind in the Marine versus Marine battle simply because of that.
Yep, and looking for bigger and better territory here. MaSa's going to go for that natural, jumps on top of it. One of the tanks dies almost immediately to those auto turrets. So much damage coming out of them. But here comes Kelazhur's going to go for the high ground. There are tanks here now going to go towards the natural where there is nothing. And a game of cat and mouse begins.
MaSa getting spanked a little bit here. This drop does manage to get inside of his natural expansion. We see those unupgraded Marines. I do believe he's got that +1 attack, but outside of that, the lack of combat shields is such a huge thing to be missing out on. Kelazhur also has the +1 armor, so excuse me, he is ahead in upgrade, which, yeah, that makes this way worse. Beautiful position for Kelazhur. We can see it reflected in the supply. And his ability to move out and take that third command center is going to be very easy. Let's not forget, Kelazhur canceled MaSa's third when he went to defend, and he also forced to cancel when he pushed up that main ramp. The third is only just now starting for MaSa.
Yeah, tough time here for MaSa. He's going to have to find a way to get back into this. A couple of Marines are going to get found here on the left side and ushered away. There's some medevacs floating around, but it's a diminished force. And the third is beginning to become saturated for Kelazhur, so that's going to be one of the ways he's going to go ahead and solidify his advantage.
The income is beautiful for him. He's got about 10 worker lead, and while it's like, okay, yeah, he's not crazy far. He's not like 1,000 minerals ahead, but he's not mining off of these depreciated patches in the main base and the natural. He has a lot of fresh resources to work with in a protracted battle. All he really needs to do now is just choke out MaSa, keep him off that third base, because, well, then he's gonna be bled out. His main's already half mined out.
Yep. And when ahead, just get further ahead. He's not only going to have the faster third, he's taking a fourth behind this as well. And now Kelazhur is that shark out in the waters, loading up the medevacs, looking for that Doom drop. You can go for the natural. I think Blood Boil offers like several key spots. You can get on top of that back natural. It'd be hard to get in there.
Yeah, you can siege behind that in that low ground base. It's extremely difficult to deal with because there's no direct way to attack it unless you go by the destructible rock, which is a choke point that siege tanks love. MaSa does get a drop inside of Kelazhur's low ground expansion though, so he's able to push him back a little bit. That medevac,
Nothing.
important to keep that alive.
Oh, spotter.
Dancing around. He
just nothing here.
He's going for the gut. He's going straight for the jugular here on this expansion. A lot of his depots are here too, so he'll supply block the crap out of him as he kills these SCVs as well if he doesn't clean this up. 4 tanks.
Yeah, and the Marines do show up, but there's just so many tanks. The damage is done. 24 SCVs dead. MaSa at half supply.
Oh, God.
He knows it. He's going to call it here in a second. I would be really surprised if he wanted to see more of this. Nope, GG is called, and MaSa is going to tap out as we go to Game 5. Kelazhur says MaSa was his greatest nemesis in this round of 16. Nathaniel, if that's true, man, if he can get out of this, he'll be looking good to make some dents.
Too much respect that game, I think, out of MaSa with his build. His build did not give him any advantage. It did not put him in a position to do anything. He had the 3 Reapers versus the 2 Hellions, and the Hellions got multiple, or they were able to attack the Reapers with their single attacks multiple times, utilizing the AoE. It allowed him to push him back very effectively, and because of that, he got out of the early game behind on tech. His factory was way later, behind on upgrades because he was able to get up the Cyclone harass on the barracks. He wasn't able to start his stim as fast as he wanted to. And economically speaking, well, he wasn't being harassed at all. He didn't have to deal with the Banshee in his base, he didn't have to deal with a Raven in his base, or that Cyclone. So everything just rolled together very nicely because of this very awkward defensive build that just doesn't have any punch behind it that MaSa went for. And it looks like the next map, the decider map for this series, is going to be Odyssey.
All right. And it's going to be tough because there's been an interesting mind game going on in this series, as you just kind of broke down very eloquently. It did not pay off for MaSa this time around. He's tried it twice now, was able to recover the first time, I believe, but the second time, a little bit too much of a deficit. But it's weird because it's like, well, you've been really banking off of that, capitalizing on catching Kelazhur in the proxy situation. Do you do it again?
And it worked on Proxima Station,
yeah.
Right? He was able to make the most of that. And it wasn't bad in, I think it was like the second map of the series, because he didn't fumble the follow-up. He got his stim very quickly. He had something to work with. But in this game, like, he did not gain anything from this. Odyssey is a very straightforward map. You do have a way for Reapers to get into your main, but it's not that crazy. You can't really bounce between positions. The Doom drop potential is certainly there, but this is just a good old slugfest map to finish this best of 5 off on, and I'm mostly curious to see if we're going to have a cheese in this final game.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's gone the distance. We're in game number 5 between these 2 Terran players. There's only 3 in the round of 16. So unfortunately, one of these 2 guys will have to leave us, but we'll have to see who it is. In the lower right-hand side, from Brazil, it is Kelazhur.
Win like that has got to feel good. Probably questioning the build of his opponent. We'll see what he goes for this game in the Northwest. The red Terran player representing Canada and Team Elevate. He is MaSa.
So far, early indication is that both players are kind of scouting around, looking. Again, you can tell these guys play against each other and know each other very well.
Yep.
Because they're just looking for proxies in all the games and doing builds that are basically completely dependent on being proxied.
MaSa has SCV scouted every game of this series, been very alert, very aware. Sadly, the one game he got proxy didn't find it, but being able to get to his opponent's base, he was able to build that bunker in time that prevented a Reaper from jumping in, and then, of course, allowed him to do his own follow-up. Because that scouting SCV also became the one that built the proxy starport, which he would not have been able to get one out of his base normally when there's Reapers right outside the front. So he comes in, he sees, okay, you've got 2 gas geysers, your barracks probably going to be Reaper factory. All right, I can tango, and I imagine he's going to build the same thing back home. Get the Reaper, get the factory, follow it up with either a quick Cyclone. Usually you get the quick Cyclone if you feel the need to defend against something very aggressive.
Yeah.
But both players might go for the Hellion in this game so that they can get the starport a little bit more quickly.
Yeah, we'll have to see where that diversion occurs, because for right now it is exactly the same thing, which is a nice place for game number 5 to go to. This, at least right now, is pointing in the direction of a more mid-game centric slugger. I like the way he described it. You know, this map can get very... Is a Doom drop still possible? Of course, it always is in TvT. But on this map, it's not really pushing you in that direction.
No. Now, if you're thinking about big drop plays, it's almost always going to be from the very top of the map. Like if we're looking at MaSa's base, you try to come in from the northeast. You try to make some sort of big crazy play. Or you try to hit from the southwest. But as you take the third base, it actually helps you lean forward to catch those things because you'd put the sensor tower a little bit further out because of where the third is. So it's not the easiest thing in the world. And there we have the starports on the way. Hellion on one side, Cyclone on the other. Very standard. A lot of these builds actually neutralize each other very well because the Cyclones can help you deal with drops. Cyclones are obviously very good against the Hellions. So if you have missile turrets, 1 or 2 Cyclones will also deal very nicely against a Banshee play. So it's a very, very small kind of tweaks here and there. We can see that even with the Cyclone being built first on the side of Kelazhur, he still gets the Hellion after. And then after the Hellion, MaSa gets the Cyclone. So they're both still doing kind of the same thing. The real diversion here is that it's Raven versus Banshee. So MaSa's going to play a little bit safer with the Raven. And that aggressive Banshee play may end up costing Kelazhur if he's not able to do damage because of the detection on the map. Losing these Reapers also really sucks.
Yeah, just the Cyclone now showing up, and it knows it's in a world where it's facing the Force. Again, counting on catching him going in the other direction. That's exactly what will happen.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
That really sucks. If he just right-clicks on that, oh, that fast cancel is huge. So the Cyclones are going to duke it out. A little bit of Kamehameha action between the two of them. One of them does survive. Just barely.
I didn't expect it to be that close, actually. But okay, he's going to run up top of the ramp here. Have a bad day. The Hellions are going to shut this down as well.
And
but it does scout the Banshee, so, I mean, ultimately, you know, like losing that's not the biggest of deals. That force is made to catch someone completely unawares, but scouting the Banshee is a nice little gimme for him.
Yeah, if anything, it definitely allows MaSa to be like, yeah, so he immediately repairs that Cyclone. It's like, okay, do need this. Use the Raven with the Viking that I'm adding on, and everything should be fine. Like, the Banshee should not be able to accomplish anything. If it does, it'll be at a time where it's multi-prong harass, and the Banshee kind of swoops in from the side like we saw against Thermal earlier in this tournament. But these are all very standard things, straight into the extra command center being added on for Kelazhur. And maybe even fast thirds on both sides, we'll see. That's still a very normal thing that happens, especially when both players open up 1-1-1. However, they also can still go up to 3 racks, bring up the pressure a little bit faster. But like I said, that Banshee, not gonna do a whole lot.
Nope. 2 SCV kills. And Cloak did finish, by the way, too. So it's one of those things where do we think he's going to trickle out more Banshees? Probably not, especially not right now. And that's a little bit of dead weight. So not the end of the world, but a good start for MaSa in that direction. The alternative, of course, is you don't have the Raven. You didn't scout the Banshee. It shows up and it ends the game. That's the potential. And that's why we keep seeing Banshees, is they have the ability to just be like, you weren't ready, you're dead.
That can happen a lot because a lot of Terran players will still just send their Raven as soon as it finishes. Be like, all right, just go across the map, drop 2 auto turrets, get a couple SCV kills, and then you have nothing when the Banshee shows up because you didn't build an engineering bay because you're like, oh, I've got a Raven, I don't need it. I don't need fast missile turrets. But the extra barracks are coming in for Kelazhur now. He's got his stem on the way. This is very nice. This is going to set him up for that timing very smoothly. Okay, the stem is also on the way for MaSa. Now
is it, Nathanius? Is it? There is a lot of stuff coming across the map. He's got a lot of infrastructure. He's got some army just now spotting it.
Huge. Seeing this is very big. Those Cyclones will pulverize that bunker very quickly. He needs everything back home to defend. 3 Cyclones is such an unusual
He's got 2
thing.
Ravens, by the way.
I think with the double Raven and 3 Cyclones, I think he drops the auto turrets. I think he can just pop this. Without a siege tank, I don't really know how you defend this. He's being very slow, though. He could have pushed before this tank was done.
Maybe high ground is what he's looking for here?
Yeah, well, this tank is going to siege up. That's the biggest thing that's going to help. He puts the turrets on the high ground, even though they're not going to be able to shoot units.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I think if he had just dropped the turrets as soon as he got there, straight onto the bunker, like if you put them, because they count as buildings, you can actually just place them around the bunker. SCVs can't repair because they're blocked and pathing. And then the 3 Cyclones destroy it super fast. Or imagine if he had just dropped 2 auto turrets and he just focuses down the tech lab that's researching STIM.
I think the plan here was he was hoping for Kelazhur to be caught off guard by the high ground auto turrets and be like, I need to engage those as well. Reinforcements, I'm on the ramp. I don't know, something like that. He definitely got a little bit too fancy.
Yeah, I think he was trying to be a little too much finesse there. Just drop the turrets in his face and he probably would have just popped him off the natural. The tank was done, but he moved it to the low ground, so.
Oh, well.
Classic MaSa, though. He's always looking for the next kill. He's out here. The attack did not go super well, but as long as he's the aggressor, I think he always figures that he's one mistake away from winning the game, and in this case, the series.
Yeah, I'll admit, I'm fantasizing a little bit about the craziness that could happen in this game because he is still setting himself up for this very aggressive drop. He's got his Cyclones. I think he has one siege tank there, too.
Oh.
And with the Raven and the Viking support, if he gets on the production this early, well, that puts you in a world of hurt.
Tank's going to be able to siege here. Going down to pick up everything else. There's still that Raven of energy.
Either. It's just finished now.
But he's on top of this, and Kelazhur's going to kind of come in here, taking a couple of tank shots to the teeth. He's going to get the tank eventually, but pretty good damage coming out from MaSa. Ultimately, he will be pushed back, and that was a nice defense from Kelazhur.
Yeah, Kelazhur's playing very solid this game with his holds. I can't say I'm a fan of the attacks MaSa's made. I mean, those Cyclones were all very, very heavily injured at that point, and his stim was not done quite at that time to really dive on top of this. Look at this. And even now, he's going to force this drop back immediately. Great map presence by Kelazhur.
Yeah, I think MaSa's going to want to give up on that. Go back and rally. Both players giving a great show here, though it is game number 5 in this best of 5 and pretty even in supply. There's been a lot of aggression. I have to agree with you, Nathaniel. Maybe the attack's not the best from MaSa, but ultimately what I do like about them is that, again, a misstep from Kelazhur, and that's it.
That's true.
MaSa wants this game to exist on the edge of survival for both these players at all times. That's where he thrives. But to be fair, Kelazhur's also kind of a player that likes it there as well.
Yeah, you do make a very good point. He's as soon as Kelazhur slips up with the amount of units he's kept out on the map, that is when things will just spiral out of control very quickly. I like that Kelazhur took the initiative with both Silnaga watchtowers. He has a lot of map vision available to him. He can send these drops very freely across the northeast side. And this is where he has that choice to dive on the third base or go in for the main and try to gut the production. But, well, as you just said, in control. Indeed.
And I love this from Kelazhur. This has been how he's won a couple games in this series, just showing up with about 16 Marines in system. He's going to shut down this third. It's going to have to pick up at best, but it's getting chased down by some high DPS. The drop that's out on the map is just going to continue. He loses the third, and all of a sudden, that thing I talked about where MaSa wanted one mistake to win the game, it's now been flipped over.
Yep, and here's the thing. If you're Kelazhur, you need to be thinking to yourself right now, why was there nothing by the third base? Why was nothing to defend? Why is there nothing inside the main? Guess what? You got a lot coming to you. He's got his tanks already sieged inside the main. He's got some Marines here. This is it. This is an extremely important moment, and I think he's just going to have to zip over to the natural expansion, but there's still some units here.
He's going to try to jump on top of that tank. There's some Marines on the high ground there. MaSa's going to snap pick up. He still has the slightly beefier force here. Now going towards that natural, but there's a tank in position there too, even behind the middle line.
Beautiful positioning by Kelazhur in this defensive posture, making the most out of this that he possibly could.
Well, is it going to be enough? The SUV is getting a little bit clogged up there. They're going to get pulled. Marines kind of coming around. They're doing a good job occupying the attention. And the Marines of MaSa, though, in that back position are able to clean up a lot of it. But here come the reinforcements. It will get pushed back. And MaSa secures for himself a huge worker lead, by the way. A lot of SUVs died there.
Yeah, he cleaned that whole mineral line up very easily. Things to note, though, MaSa did lose his third command center throughout that. Kelazhur has his third finishing up as well right about now, so that puts him somewhat even. He can rebuild those SCVs. But the 2-2 is on the way for Kelazhur. It's almost done.
Yeah.
And MaSa only has +1 attack. His Marines are going to suck.
It's been a little bit
Kelazhur.
weird. He's actually, in this entire series, not really featured upgrading. I think double engineering base seems to be the norm, but not for MaSa. MaSa's just all about tech, a lot of attacks. Kelazhur, by the way, we just got a shot of it loading up for a mega attack, and it's tragically just as that third's about to land, this too will die unless he just goes straight into the main.
The game of thirds. Well,
he's just going for it.
Screw that. I want to go for the jugular. And
whoa.
Okay, that is probably the most awkward
pause
timing I've ever seen.
That is like...
He was, he did mention before the game started that he was having a little bit of mouse difficulties. And it seems like that is the problem right now. So he's, I guess...
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to unplug it, replug it in, if that fixed it.
It's like Mike Tyson going in for the haymaker, and they're like, timeout! And he's
the
like
drivers
3
for my
inches away.
fist have stopped working.
Gosh darn it, wouldn't you believe it?
Just unplug fist and plug it back in. There you go. I think he says, okay, I think it's fine now, sorry. So we'll get back into this.
Get back into the final 15 seconds of this game here.
Couldn't have picked a more awkward time for this mouse to fail, but that's what esports
I
is.
hope they get into the game, Observer, like production right now.
Yeah,
it's actually being excited
we
right
get back
now.
into the game feed. The drop has landed. Two of the tanks are going to siege up inside of the main base. The defenses of MaSa nowhere near enough to deal with this drop. But at the same time, he's got that drop over in the natural and main of Kelazhur. And I think Kelazhur's dealt with it. I think Kelazhur has held the pressure. He's on the production of MaSa. I think we might be seeing our Brazilian Terran move forward here. I'm not really sure what MaSa's going to do to kill him. I don't think he can.
No, that's it. The army inside, even if he eventually somehow kills this, it's going to take so much to dislodge it. And even then, he's kind of backing up in the tanks. He might lose the starport behind this too, which of course is so critical. Without Medivacs or Vikings or anything like that, he's just in a lot of trouble.
And don't forget, the 2-2. His
he's going to get the
way
orbital.
better. His Marines are just so much better, too. Like, he can't fight this army.
Yeah, he's down to basically one base. He still has that third. Kelazhur's just going to back up from here. The supplies are telling us it's pretty even, but positionally, I have to favor Kelazhur by a lot.
And it sucks because he like planetary at his third base. He's like, I desperately need this expansion.
Can't even mine from that base safely. The tanks are raining down on it. He will be able to kill this MaSa. He's going to pull in here and do just that. Kelazhur's going to back out with the Medivacs at the very least. And some damage was incurred. We didn't get to see the fight in its entirety in Kelazhur's base. I feel like he pulled SCVs or something because he's actually behind in workers right now.
Yep.
Again.
And another important thing to mention, though, that planetary fortress of the third and the lost orbital in the main.
He's down to one.
He can only drop mules from one command center. Ladies and gentlemen who asked, why don't you just planetary your third every game? This is why.
Yeah.
He really, really needs an extra mule right now. And he doesn't have it. And those siege tanks, they don't care about that planetary fortress. They can shell from miles away. The Marines can go behind the mineral line.
Uh-oh.
Planetary is probably...
This is a lethal game, man.
Pretty bad in TvT.
He's just going to show up at the natural. He's saying, forget the planetary.
There's nothing here. My Marines will beat yours head-to-head every time.
Oh, yeah, he's 2-2 versus just the one attack upgrade, maybe one armor?
Yep. That's it. He's 1-1 versus 2-2. The counter drop
Oh,
is
he might
there,
kill
though.
that orbital, too.
No more mules.
Well, he's not going to actually target...
Oh, my God.
Well, it's time for you to get a new mouse, my friend. Mass is a true gentleman, by the way. There was a time where they'd get a shot of Jeff right now. There'd be 6 gallons of sweat coming off of me.
Would you punch through your monitor?
No, I wasn't a rager, but it would be like it would look uncomfortable. They'd like shoot over to me and I'd be
It would look like you could punch through your monitor.
Yeah, probably. But MaSa staying calm, cool, and collected. It's been a great best of 5 series. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties. Try not to talk too much about the series as Kelazhur has been pulling off his headphones, and we don't want to say anything that would break the integrity of this. So just let us take this moment to remind you guys that you are all awesome. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Tomorrow, there'll be more action. Today, there's more action, too. Don't let me get too far away.
There's a lot more games
A lot
today.
of StarCraft.
Yeah.
A lot of StarCraft coming out.
Yeah.
What are you excited about coming down the pipe here, Nathanius?
Well, obviously, I always get pulled to the Terran stuff. So
is it Special Xanster?
Special Xanster should be fun. I like watching Special play, mostly because he does a little bit of the weird stuff. He copies the Koreans. I like the Korean mech builds that have been popping up a lot.
Yep.
I don't know what he'll do against Xanster in that department. But
I like PvP, by the way. That's actually a good matchup.
Neeb versus Probe will be great, too. Everybody knows I'm the biggest Neeb fanboy there is.
You are. We haven't had a chance to see Probe either. I don't think Probe has been on the mainstream, and he's quietly doing very well, coming all the way over from Australia. So imagine his enjoyment when they're like, hey, you're kicking butt in StarCraft, and there aren't giant spiders trying to eat your face in Spain.
That's true.
That's incredible.
Do we know for sure that there aren't giant spiders that'll eat your face in Spain?
No, there certainly are. We just don't tell them about it.
Okay.
For God's sakes, it's Spain, man.
All right.
Yeah. They make paellas out of them, as I understand it. But from what I was told, there's a paella for everything.
Is there?
I had people on my Twitter telling me that there's no snails in paella, and I was like,
the
certainly
paella
were.
we had was there definitely.
Either they were clowning on us. They're like, these tourists don't know, and they put slugs and snails in there.
Or
or
these Americans will actually eat this.
We did some deep touristy stuff.
We went somewhere that was too legit.
We ate some cephalopods, some like land-faring cephalopods in our paella. So just got a little bit of technical difficulties, guys. We're going to sort that out.
Are we looking at highlights? Right.
Yeah, this is... Don't be alarmed.
Yeah, my brain was like, this is not what's happening right now in the game. if you guys have missed some of this game, it's basically been, well,
right.
TvT is what it is in Control, and it's a lot of drops these days. It's all about those Doom drops.
I like our production. They're like,
we jump back
all right,
into
we're
the
in a
game,
break.
the people
Surprise!
watching.
There's a drop. It's like, that's not real. It's an old one.
It's not real.
All right.
It's a hallucination.
Keep the crowd excited.
That drop was halluc. All right, so they're working on it right now to fix mouse. I think he says it might be like the cable or something. That's very awkward, but he's working on it. Yeah, you guys can also hit us up. The StarCraft Twitter account's been going a bit ham, and a lot of people have been voting, of course, in the Twitch chat.
Yes, GSL versus the world.
A lot of awesome things happening. Vote for the players that you want to represent your country, that you want to represent your race in StarCraft 2. And watch them try to beat Koreans.
And they will, man. Some will.
Some will.
They'll do a great job.
All right, it looks like we are back into the game. The game has resumed, ladies and gentlemen. All right, big drop at this third base of Kelazhur. Marines are a-shooting. And the Siege Tank's getting caught just a little bit outside the base of MaSa, trying to get into that position.
He's going down the ramp. I can't believe he tried that. I guess he has to, but he got smashed back up into his main base.
Being behind on those upgrades. Like, you're not going to fight Marines versus Marines. It ain't happening.
Yeah. Is it literally 2-2 to 1-1, right?
Yep.
It is. It's right there, lower right-hand side.
That is a big deal. The Siege Tanks are the only thing that MaSa can rely on to win fights because his Marines are not going to do it for him at this point.
He's even looking at the planetary, just going to kind of fight the minerals on the right side there. MaSa getting a little bit, but he's just going to lose this fight, like you said. Yep. Those Marines are just so much better. They don't even have medevacs there. They're behind.
He still doesn't want to fight him.
Oh, he's going for it.
Oh, this is it. No.
He's actually going for it, like going away from it.
Yeah.
The opposite.
The opposite of diving in.
Can't fight that, MaSa. They're way stronger, dude.
The 2-2 Marines.
Those are Primaris Space Marines.
Extremely, extremely powerful. I mean, he basically he's just got like 20 more hours in the game, right? As far as all the research and tech he's unlocked.
Oh, I think that one had some guys in it.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
The sad thing about medevacs transport units is they play those terrible death sounds of the units inside when they blow up, just so you feel extra.
Do they actually?
Yes.
That's morbid.
A medevac full of Marines will play the Marine death sound when it blows up.
Gosh, for each one of them?
It's actually kind of messed up, yeah.
That is actually messed up. I like to think that it's one of the best ways to go in StarCraft, actually. Well, you know what? Let's not go down that path.
Is that, you'd want to blow up in a transport if you were a Marine?
Nate, I am going to pull the plug on this conversation because I'm not sure that's what they want us to talk about right now. But hey, the drop is behind that natural, which is barely a natural, by the way. The third's kind of the more important one. Supplies are still even, but I keep looking at Kelazhur and I'm like, those Marines are just twice as good for the most part.
Just needs to force a fight where he can leverage his Marine upgrades, but the more tank shots he eats, the worse it'll get. So there's one tank here that's shelling.
Just one tank.
And he might be able to push through this. Another tank is going to pop out, but it's not going to siege in time. And this could be where Kelazhur ends this match and takes the series. He's on top of the production with his 2-2 Marines. And I believe that is just going to be it. He cannot produce any more forces without them immediately being snapped up.
He faced his demons. He said MaSa was going to be his hardest matchup, and it was a bloody back-and-forth matchup. But GG is called, and MaSa has had enough. Kelazhur will go on to the round of 8.
Fighting through mouse issues and believing that MaSa was one of the worst draws he could get. He moves on. And we see this legacy of Kelazhur in 2017 WCS continue as he's taking names and kicking ass in Control.
Yep, got some awesome information from our wonderful analyst that this was his toughest matchup. This was his most fearsome foe. And
look at that hand holding.
That was beautiful little wrist clasp there.
Respect.
Gold chain and all. He's going to make his way to the center of the stage. I want to hear more from this guy because that was quite the battle. And as I understand it, Smix has him ready to go.
Thank you very much, In Control, and congratulations, Kelazhur. You're moving on to the round of 8, and I know that everyone's been seeing your great results in WCS, but I know personally for you, MaSa has been a very difficult opponent, so how much more significant is this win?
I mean, I'm pretty satisfied that I beat MaSa. He's kind of my nemesis. He's always beating me. But still, I can't help but feel really bad about this victory. The last game with the mouse issues, if I was in his position, I'd be very frustrated. So I can only imagine how he feels. So I can't feel happy about this at all.
Well, I know that you guys are really good friends, so you always feel sorry about that. But in terms of playing against MaSa, I know that a lot of times with players, if they consistently lose against someone, they can sometimes form mental blocks. Did you feel that against MaSa at all? Because when we were watching the series, you didn't seem nervous at all.
I'm usually very good with mental blocks. You know, I think I have a pretty decent mentality, and I think that no matter how my score is against someone, I will always try my best, no matter what. So yeah, I have the mentality of always giving my 100%, no matter the score, no matter who.
And then in your next matchup, it's either Snoot or Scarlet. And Snoot is a player that you beat in the round of 16 at WCS Austin. And Scarlet, when I looked at your match history, you've actually been winning a lot against her. So what do you think about that?
I'm ready for the both of them.
Sounds good. Congratulations again, Kelazhur. And with that, he'll be moving on to the quarterfinals.
All right, well played, Kelazhur, 3-2, but it was a back and forth series here as he takes the victory and moves on into the round of 8. I'm joined by Fear Dragon and Todd once again, and, well, back and forth was very apt for this series, Fear Dragon.
Absolutely. I mean, it was crazy back and forth. And I think one of the big things that we ended up noticing was that in the early game stages, Kelazhur would find these ways to take the lead in some way, and then MaSa would just turn things around. His mid-game ended up being so strong, but I think in that last game, the eventual base trade, those upgrades really ended up playing the biggest impact.
And for Kelazhur to win in this fashion here, like I said, like this is a matchup that flies a little bit under the radar. You know, if you're Zerg, if you're Protoss, you might look at it and be like, all right, well, I guess that'll be my TV show break or whatever. Yeah. No, this is actually two very good players that just played a very good series. And Kelazhur up against a Zerg in tomorrow's matches in a round of 8. I don't hate his chances either, even though it would be Snoot or Scarlet in this case. So good on him, I guess.
Well, let's take a look at the bracket and keep you guys updated as to what's going on here for WCS Valencia, as that does see Kelazhur moving on into the round of 8. And he's at the point now where he's gained himself so many points. Before this series, at least, he was up 2,150, where he's almost securing himself that guaranteed top 8 spot for BlizzCon later down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of his biggest competitions is going to be Snoot, who's currently in 9th place in the WCS standings. So being able to face off versus either the winner of Snoot versus Scarlet in the next series, if Snoot ends up winning over there, he can just knock her out or knock him out and shut down his chances of earning a couple more points and really make it a lot harder for even a good run at WCS Montreal to allow Snoot to overtake him.
Yeah. You can tell Ravi is like an expert of like those points races thanks to Ladder Heroes. You face the competition, you knock him down, and then you go up a notch yourself. That's the way you do it, right?
It's how I learned how to do math on stream, Todd.
Oh, no. Don't do that. I mean, it's your first premiere, but whoa, steady on, fella. All right, we're going to go to a short break, and when we're back, more StarCraft action here from WCS Valencia. Don't go anywhere.